Hello and welcome to the 5-Year Plan Podcast.
Hey!
Oh, that was a very muted way.
No, it was a warm,
It
autumnal. It was autumnal.
Autumnal. It was.
There was slight regret and wood smoke in that.
Which is quite apt to Palace right now. This is pod is sponsored by Vector Printing. For all your printing embroidery needs, go to vector.co.uk. It's Vector with a
K.
Nice. And JCIS, the global research and brand consultancy from South London. Visit jc-is.com. Whoa. .com.
I will.
Nice. Okay.
What number pod is this, JD?
Pod 225.
Is it?
Yeah. That feels like a milestone of some sort, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is. Feels like halfway to 450.
Mm-hmm.
450. Okay, so before we talk about the pod, we need... I can't remember if we did this last week or not. Did we? I don't know. We need to thank people for donating to our sponsored walk for the foundation, because we've gone over £1,000 already. And as a result, I've upped it to £2,000 target. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping that people will be able to keep donating, because they've been incredibly generous so far, which has been brilliant. And we've still got 3 weeks to the walk. 2 weeks to go. 3 weeks to go.
Yeah.
So there are plenty of donations, and there are prizes.
Ooh.
Yeah, woo indeed. For people, if you donate, and I'm just going to read out those prizes quickly now, so that people know what they're bidding for. But if you do donate and you want to be entered into the prize draw, do not hit gift aid, because it won't legally count or something. Anyway, if you enter the draw and give us a £5 donation, you will be into a draw for a free subscription to the fanzine. Good. £10 donation gets you into a draw to win some FYP merchandise, like t-shirts and stuff. Yeah, pretty decent. 25 quid donation enters you into a draw to be a guest on the FYP Extra pod after a game.
Getting better.
Which this week we had Jeff Thomas as a guest, so he could be rubbing shoulders with bona fide Palace legends. And Rob Soland. And a £50 donation gets you into a draw to be on this full pod in this room. Way indeed. So if you want to donate, go to justgiving.com/fundraising/FYP-podcast. But we'll put that online as well.
I asked the foundation because I was confused by that gift aid stuff. Apparently, if you want to be included in the draw, or if you want to donate enough to be included in the draw, then that's not a donation. It then becomes technically a form of gambling.
No, it doesn't.
No, that's the charity rule. So you get
the charity.
But if you just donate money, then you click gift aid, and then we get extra money.
Yeah.
But if you want to be included in you can do both. You can split it. You can do like £5 2 donations, and one you can just say this is a donation and press gift aid. But if you want it to be included in the prize draw, then you can't. You don't get gift aid.
That's a really nice idea that people could do a bit of both, maybe.
Yeah, it was the foundation's idea, because they panicked at the thought that some people might not press gift aid. Basically,
well, you know what's been really nice since that message? A lot of people have donated and have ticked gift aid and said, "Don't worry about the draw. I want the money to go to charity, including gift aid."
Well, that's very nice.
That's really nice.
Across the board as well, the people have been very generous to us, but across the board, the foundation as a whole is getting quite close to their original target as well. So
fantastic.
Yeah, I think the foundation is something that Palace fans feel they can get behind, and Andy Johnson's involved as well.
Yeah, exactly.
The more money that goes into it as well is going to put more pressure on my dad, who's going to have to do this walk the evening after my birthday. So he's going to be having a stinking hangover.
Exactly. To be fair, me and
I'm going to try my best
to
make sure he doesn't complete it.
Also, I think AJ's probably feeling a bit grumpy at the moment, because he's doing a really good thing by walking 26 miles, and there's Jeff Thomas on the pitch, saddle sore from a 38,000 mile bike ride, or whatever it is.
How's training going for the sponsored pub crawl?
If you count just general walking in life as training, then great.
I've done some.
Have you?
I have done
what
some.
What have you done?
I'm up to 8 miles non-stop.
Walking?
Yeah, but I'll probably do that anyway in a day, I reckon.
Really?
Well, maybe.
Where do you go?
I'll walk around Richmond Common for the 8 miles one.
Okay.
But it's only putting one leg in front of the other at the end of the day, and we are stopping. It's not a race, is it?
I've walked all the way to this pod before.
Have you?
Yeah.
That's very good.
Yeah.
Oh, also, that's the other thing as well we wanted to mention, which we didn't mention last week, is that obviously there are some people who are less mobile than others.
Mm-hmm.
and they can still very much get involved and do the walk if they want, or they can do the final mile. They can sign up to do a half mile. If you want to do the actual walk, you can sign up to do half of it, or within a couple of days you should be able to sign up just to do the last mile.
Fantastic.
If you want, or just turn up. We'll let you know where the pubs are going to be, and just turn up and
We'll see you in the pub.
That
is the pub thing is
great.
Definitely happening, isn't it? The stops are definitely confirmed.
Yeah,
there's been a lot of talk about this.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a stop. They've got proper people organising it as well. They do.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So there's a stop.
Unlike this pod.
There's a pub in Richmond Park that we're stopping in.
Cool. Okay, good. Right, let's move on to Palace.
Should we introduce who's on?
Oh yeah, we should do that, shouldn't we? Kevin Day.
Hello.
Travis Endicott.
Hello.
And Jesse Boyce.
Pleased to be here.
It's a bit unorganised today, isn't it?
Well,
A little bit.
same as always, really.
It's a bit like Palace.
Yeah.
It is like Palace. Well, Palace have become record breakers this week.
Yep.
Yeah, first team ever to go 5 games at the start of the season without winning or scoring. But my question to you guys to start the pod off, and we had a few people tweeting us saying, "Can you guys be positive tonight?" And I feel like we are quite most weeks, aren't we? Fairly
We tried to be. We had one really bad week, I think, but we tried to be positive.
Yeah.
It's not always easy.
And I'll try. It's not easy, but I'll levy you this. According to the stats people, only the last season's top 6 teams have had more shots on goal than Palace this season, and we're 11th in the table for the expected goals ratio thing. So does that kind of point to the fact that maybe Palace haven't been that bad this season, and maybe even a bit unlucky?
Well, I felt quite dejected on Saturday until I went to my local off licence, which is run by a chap called Ash, who you know, who's a Man United fan, but has been to Palace a couple of times and absolutely loves Palace now. Who basically, he said, well, you're going to lose 7 games before Christmas, so all you've done is lose 5 of them in a row. So it's like, it's still a good team. He said, all your shots on target, and that, I actually came out of there feeling quite uplifted, feeling, maybe he's right. It's not disaster. There's still plenty of hope. We're still a half-useful team. And there's no point really discussing Saturday's performance because Hodgson are only been in charge for
2 days.
2 days.
Two training sessions.
2 training sessions. And the fact is that once again, their keeper did make 2 genuinely world-class saves. But the fact is, we talk about systems again week in, week out, and once again it was 2 individual errors. Schlupp got done far too easily on the cross, and then thank God Street wasn't at the game because Hennessy then just palmed it straight out to their striker who was standing unmarked. So again, every single goal we conceded this season has been
it was Stephen Davies, the midfielder, and it was his first goal for 350 days or something. His last goal against Crystal Palace.
Yeah. Well, also the only other team to have stayed up after losing 5 games is Southampton. So
really?
Yeah, it can be done.
Well, this is the thing. I still think, and despite the fact that obviously it's been a terrible start and we got 3 difficult games coming up, I still think whatever happens, we're probably going to be okay this season, Travis. Am I being over optimistic there?
In a really, really, really strange way, the next 3 games were almost the best we could have because you're not expecting to get anything from them. If Frank was in charge and we had won these first 5 games, we still wouldn't expect anything from them. We could be playing amazingly, and you don't go to these places. You don't have Chelsea come to you, and you expect to pick up points. Palace have always been that team, in my experience, that when we're in the Championship and we're playing the Liverpools in the Cup or something, always up the game. And people generally do that. I was playing football on the weekend and we were playing a team and they weren't very good, and we kind of just thought, wait, why haven't we stuck 5 past this team? So, they might drop down because we're not playing very well and think it might be a bit more of a walk in the park than they expect it to be. New manager boost could possibly happen. I think players have got things to prove because of the grilling they're all getting at the moment on social media. I don't know, but I think we could just go there expecting nothing and pick up 4 points. And
on the other hand, Watford were unbeaten until Man City beat them 6-0 on Saturday. And we don't always go. I remember going to Anfield after being ahead from the first leg of the League Cup and losing 5-0. So you'd rather United and Chelsea, I agree with City. I think they're probably the last team we'd want to be playing at this.
Well, especially away.
Yeah, but
with our record against them anyway. But.
Yeah, our record's bad, especially at the Etihad. But we'll talk about that later on. Yeah. Although I think in that game it's going to be so obvious how to play that, and that'll be go ultra defensive and try and get something. But we'll move on to that. But Jesse, did you see positives? What was your overriding feeling? Did you see positives in the game, or were you feeling negative about another defeat and another game without goals?
Well, there's being unlucky, and then there's shooting yourself in the foot. We've done the latter in every game, pretty much.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say. Yeah, we've been unlucky. I think in tandem with that, we've got the top and tail of the pitch, the keeper and the striker. They've got no competition for places. So you've got nothing to bring on to freshen up the attack, and by default, Hennessy's in goal. So it's hard to say we're unlucky. I think we're just reaping the rewards, or we're not reaping the rewards of a lack of preparation. I think when it comes to Roy's first team, I felt like he probably had a word with Sammy Lee before he left, just to get a little bit of a lowdown on where we were at. You would do that if you were him. And based on the fact that the Burnley performance was actually all right, and we had plenty of shots, Roy seemed to be a little bit conservative in thinking, well, the team played well in the last game, I won't change much. Whereas I was thinking, you've got nothing to lose by changing it. You got a free pass here to do what you want. You got a wild card.
Yeah.
And he didn't use it, did he?
No.
I just thought, how has he not seen the quality that Luca's got to keep him on the bench? How has he not watched him in training and thought, I'll start him? It must be because of the last game. And he's just sort of didn't want to change too much. He just brought Loftus-Cheek back in.
You can see why he did that, though, can't you?
Not Luca. That free hit thing, that wild card thing is interesting. As a mate of mine said afterwards, I either expected him to be ultra cautious or throw caution to the wind, but he did sort of both at different times of the game. It's like we went 1-0 down, and for the next 20 minutes, you fair enough, you go, okay, let's not concede, but let's not also park everybody just in front of the box. And then we had two spells where we did look like we were on the front foot when we were pressing much higher up the pitch, but then didn't have the energy to carry on doing it. And the Luca thing was really strange. Not playing Van Aanholt is really strange, because he's a really competent.
He hasn't been brilliant this season, though, has he? He's not been up to his standards.
Well, none of them have been brilliant this season.
True.
But also the two names that have to be dealt with, and it's an issue every single Palace fan afterwards, during the game, after the game, and that's Puncheon and Ward, and that's they've got to be. Ward has been a really good servant to the club, but he's not good enough at this level. He's not good enough to play the sort of game he's been asked to play. He hasn't got the pace to get beyond. He's playing basically as the wide right man. He hasn't got the pace to get everything stops. And Punch, God love him, is just. And we all hate saying this, but he doesn't. He's not bringing in anything anywhere he plays. And trying to play him wide on the left just didn't work. And you got a player like Schlupp who works really well wide on the left, who's playing left back when Van Aanholt's on the bench. Luca not playing was just. It's just ludicrous. But as soon as Luca came on, he was at least looking forward. His first touch, Loftus-Cheek, to be fair, was full of energy, and he went off because of cramp in the end. But Luca's first touch was always forward. He's so much more comfortable on the ball. Cabaye looks exhausted.
Yeah.
Punch doesn't seem to know what he's doing. MacArthur's not a Premier League footballer, whatever we say. And we just haven't got the legs and the energy in midfield. And their number 18 had the easy. And the other big problem is Benteke's clearly a good scorer of goals. But you look at Shane Long playing for them, playing the same role. He covered every inch of the pitch. Benteke doesn't close down the centre-backs at all, which means their midfield doesn't have to worry about dropping back to cover for one of the centre-backs, which means they're always...
We say that every week, don't we?
I know we do, but that's...
So what do we do about it?
I know I haven't got the answer to people, like the bloke said to me afterwards, it's like, if 24,000 Palace fans can see it, why can't a succession of managers see it? And I don't know the answer, but the fact is Benteke doesn't work nearly hard enough. He's not pressing the two centre-backs, and that means we're on the back foot anyway, because defence starts from the front.
Roy should have shooken it up a bit. I think he should have had Tompkins in there with Dan. They know each other.
Fossey Mensah right back.
Absolutely. Wardy's just, his confidence is shot. Everyone can see that. And the last time we scored a goal, it was against Hull, and it was PVA and Schlupp bombing up the left. Yeah. Both of them scored that day, did they?
Yeah.
Right? So we know that works. We know that they're comfortable on the left.
Schlupp won the penalty, didn't he?
That's right, yeah.
That's right, sorry, yeah. So I just think it was pretty clear that Roy should have said, right, let's battle for the first 11 rather than just continue.
I mean, you can see the logic behind playing similar to the way at Burnley, because it was such a good performance, and it did seem like the team was heading in the right direction. And he can only have learnt so much after 2 training sessions, surely. I know what you're saying about Luca, and yeah, we all love Luca, and you'd have thought he'd have shown his quality in training. He probably has, but Roy can only learn so much, surely. From 2 days of training.
It was a better performance at Burnley, and so the bigger question is, why did we sack the manager? Not, what did Roy learn from it? But it just seems that the same sentimentality we have for Puncheon seems to be someone at the club has got the same thing, because they just want to shoehorn Punch into whatever system we play. Whether it's because he's captain, I don't know, or whether it's because he brings qualities that we just don't see, and no one takes any pleasure in saying it.
No.
But
Well, I think
it's not-
Puncheon would. We talked to him on the podcast, didn't we, back in April? I think he'd be the first to admit that he's not delivering the way he can.
Well, there was an interview he had the other day on Palace where he just goes, I ignore everything. If the manager's happy for me to play and my teammates are happy with me playing, I'll do the job I need to do. Surely with that attitude, he'd be happy just going, look, if he's going to do a better job than I step aside and let him do it. And I'm sure he wouldn't be he wouldn't moan about that at all, and he's not going to throw up a hissy fit. He's just there. I think he's there, one of those players, knowing that he wants to end his career at the club. He'd be quite happy to kind of do a demo role, what he's been doing for the past few years, and help people. And like we were talking about recently, the age of our centre midfield at the moment.
Yeah.
Luca's one of those ones that he's the youngest centre midfield player we have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
25.
I think so. Yeah.
And that's 25. You kind of get into your peak there. The others have all just seemed to have lost their legs slightly. And when you're playing Burnley and they're 1-0 up and they're holding back a little bit, it can make them look a bit better. But once you're needing to kind of do your more box-to-box role, it wasn't working.
I mean,
Well,
I guess,
the trouble.
Kabay made a lot of key passes, though. I've looked into the stats of it. I think he still has a big part to play in the team, but MacArthur's the one I just don't think it's gonna work with him. It needs to be Kabay and Luca.
Well, both of them, Kabay and MacArthur, seemed to me were getting the ball so often with their back to goal rather than. And you see Loftus-Cheek, when he does get the ball, his first instinct is to do the half turn and drive forward. And to be fair, in the first half, there are some really good bits of link-up play with Loftus-Cheek and other people going through the middle rather than out wide. But that's the problem. Our two best players at the moment are not our players. They're both on loan. And you guess that when Sakho's fit, it's going to be Sakho and Fosu-Mensah, or Sakho and Tompkins, and then Fosu-Mensah at right back.
I think it'd be Fosu-Mensah right
and then
back,
PVA, and that's not a bad back four. But as Travis says, there's a real lack of energy in that midfield. There's a real lack of legs. Kabay was mugged far too easily, and I think Bobby Madley is not a good ref. But all 5 yellow cards were deserved for Palace on Saturday, and 4 of them came from us losing the ball and trying too hard to get it back. And it's not like Southampton were. Southampton are a team we could have beaten. Burnley are a team we could have beaten. Huddersfield are a team. Swansea. I mean, that number 18 was a prime example of the sort of player we need in midfield.
Lemina,
he was great. Yeah. And also every time, and it's all very well for Palace fans to say, we'll get it out wide, that's what we do. But Townsend, who doesn't deserve any discredit from Saturday, I thought he had a half-decent game, but he hasn't got the legs to beat people. Ward certainly hasn't. So you're getting the ball out wide, and they've got so much time to reset and regroup, unless they put the crosses in early, which they don't. So much as I don't like Benteke's work rate, he's also not getting the ball in front of him. I don't think he had a cross in front of him for the whole game, so you can't blame...
No, he had that one chance, didn't he?
Yeah. You know in football that if you don't score the first goal, the team that scores the first goal is likely to lose, or likely to go on and get at least a point. So, and we're in desperate need of a goal. Roy should be well aware that we need to score that first goal, especially on Saturday against Southampton. So Luca was only going to help that happen. Yeah. He left us a little bit exposed in front of those defenders, or at least the two short and stubby midfielders we have in Kabay and Puncheon. They half their yellow cards because their legs are too short and they lunge in.
Players.
That's what happened at Burnley, I think, with Kabay as well.
Yeah.
And then he's the one who's been designated the spot kick and free kick taker. Yeah. So against Burnley again, Kabay had it, hit it straight into the wall. Doesn't feel like there's much sort of forethought into what we're going to do without Luca, because he's been integral in pre-season and at the end of last year. So I just find it crazy at this dire time of need that he's not like first on the sheet, let alone on the bench.
Surely he'll be in next game. He showed in those 15 minutes how good he is.
You'd guess so, and you'd imagine that Sakho had a really good 8 games with Luca in front of him, so you'd imagine that Sakho would acknowledge to the management how important he was to that. And then again, we always talk about the decent first team. If you've got Loftus-Cheek and Luca at the heart, as your 2 central midfield players, that's 2 good central midfield players. Just with a decent back four, and it's hard to come back. So it's still a decent side, but it's just that they just at the moment they look broken. They look like they don't know what to do. They look like there's no, and of course they wouldn't be after because we only had 2 days. But they look like they were trying things out on the hoof. They didn't look like they was getting any real guidance.
The thing is, like you're talking about a midfield that's sort of losing its legs a bit, which is a very valid point. And a sort of back up in quality. This is the team we've got now till January. So there's not. So we can't bring people in unless we find free transfers. But invariably, most free transfers aren't that good.
Not even free transfers. It's people without contracts,
free agents, or whatever. Yeah. But there'll be a free agent. Probably because they're not that good. So there's not a lot Roy can do. apart from find a system to get their best out of this team, and that's not going to be easy.
Well, you can. I mean, you can get somebody closer to Benteke for a start off, because that's the other thing I really feel for Benteke, and it'll be the same at Man City next week when he plays as a lone striker again. So many people are having to go at Benteke, and this is not his fault. I will have a go at him for not closing defenders down. But what else is he do? The ball's fired in at him, and he'll get a flick on, and it looks like it's a pointless flick on because none of the midfield have got the legs or the ambition to get beyond him and take a risk on it, because no one's close enough to him to do that. He's winning some really good balls. He's not going to be able to hold up every single pass that's fired at his throat and keep it for while people get around him. They're really good flicks, some of those he's doing, but there wasn't a Gale there or a Defoe or wherever it is.
There wasn't a Zaha.
Or a Zaha up close enough to get near and make something of it. So that's...
I think that's been another problem that's been highlighted since Zaha's been away, is that Townsend thrives when Zaha's on the pitch, because Zaha's the danger man, and it frees him up a little bit.
Yeah.
And as long as getting a right back and Fossey meant to play there, and a goalkeeper, I think another proper danger man that maybe end product isn't that great, but someone he stands on the ball and they're thinking, right, we need to get people around this guy because he's going to cause something and cause some problems.
Loftus-Cheek could be that guy?
Loftus-Cheek could be that guy, but I think maybe someone out wide. And I think Schlupp could be that guy. He's got the pace to do it, get in behind. But imagine some of those flick-ons if Schlupp was a bit further wide. He could have easily got behind in the same way that he won the penalty.
Well, it's really annoying on that basis is that when we let Balassi go, which we all thought was a really good move for that amount of money.
Yeah.
My sanctimonious son Ed goes, it's a terrible mistake. Should never let him go. He's exactly what we need at the moment. And Travis's point is a really good one. Because when Zaha's playing, the other teams tend to instinctively shift towards him. So the other fullback is almost leaving space on the line for Townsend to get down behind him. When he's not, it's like watching a tactical map when you watch the opposition. They're all in their positions. They're all...
The problem is, firstly, we sold Balassi to raise money for Benteke, didn't we?
And we got, and to be, at the time, we all thought that was a lot of money for Balassi.
He scored 17 goals last season. So the second thing is, this is shining a light on something we said before, which is we rely on a handful of players so much. We rely on Wilf so much. And when he's not there, look how much we struggle. And we're talking about trying to find ways to get on without him. Is that a bigger issue at the club at the moment, that we have a cup? So we want Sacco back. We're talking about Luca and Wilf.
We said this for every single transfer window, that we never get strength in depth at all. We improve our first 11, but you never look at a bench for Palace and go, right, that guy could come on. You have your kind of first starting 11, and if they're all fit, they'll play every single game, every game. I don't think there's many players at the club that you'd necessarily, apart from one or two, bring in and out to change against different teams. I don't know.
We spoke about that after the Burnley game. So you're without Saka, who's not fit. You've got Ruben Loftus-Cheek, who's not fit. You've got Zaha, who's also injured. 2 or 3 first choice players are always going to be struggling to start. But the time we get those 3 players starting, Benteke will have 5 yellows and Sol goodbye. Yeah. So that's pretty much what will happen. So you've got to be able to account for that in the squad you set up. Balassi's the archetypal kind of strength and depth situation. We've got Townsend in, and Balassi went out.
That would have been.
And then you're thinking, the Oliver Burke noises made sense, right? Here's going to be that competition for places winger that we need, and it didn't happen. So, you're right. The strength and depth issues just been there for years, and we're really paying for it now because we haven't had injuries like this at the beginning of the season before.
And I suppose, the optimistic part of you as well is somebody said as well during the game that if Zaha had been fit, he probably would have injured himself again anyway by just getting frustrated because he's such a team player now. Since he's been back at the club, he tried so hard. He probably would have either been booked, sent off, or kicked, because he would have tried to make something happen.